So what did they do that made him like to hang out with them? The first thing it says there in Luke chapter 10, around verse 38, it says, Martha received him in her house. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, Martha received him in her house. In other words, she made accommodations for him. She made accommodations for him. The text does not say that Martha invited him. It says Martha received him. She might not have even invited him. He might have even invited himself. But when it says she received him, that meant whether he came in her house was not up to him, it was up to her. She received him. See, Jesus was not used to being welcomed in people's houses. I mean, you know, we're all excited about Jesus, but he had a rough time. And when he said the foxes have holes, the birds of the air have their nests, but I ain't got nowhere to lay my head, he was serious, because ain't nobody trying to get me to come over their house. But when he went to Martha's house, she received him in her house. Martha's house was one of them houses where Jesus could go and kick his sandals off. Martha's house was one of those kind of houses where Jesus could go and he could be Jesus and didn't have to be the Christ. Martha's house was one of them houses where Jesus could go over there and Jesus could just lay back and lean back. We had an aunt. Actually, she was my mother's aunt, so she was my great aunt. Sweet as she could be, but she was particular. And we used to go to her house every year for Christmas. And she was by no stretch of the imagination was she rich, but she had the best house in our whole family. And so we would go over to her house, and before we left the house, there were 6 of us, all 6 little gang of kids, we would get the speech. Now, you know you're going over Aunt so-and-so's house, and you know how she is. So don't touch nothing. She had the slip covers and everything all on the couch, and little china cabinet with little china dolls and silver around the plates and everything. Don't touch nothing. We got that speech before we left the house. Then when we pulled up to the house, before we went in, we got the same speech. You know how she is. Don't touch nothing. And we would go in there and sit on our little chairs. And we didn't touch nothing. Sweet as she could be, but she was particular. Now when we go to our grandmother's house, we bust in the door, jump on the couch, jump on the bed, lay on the floor, open the refrigerator. That's the kind of house Martha had. He could come into her house and feel at home. She didn't say to him, don't touch nothing. Matter of fact, if you read the text, it said she received him into her house.